Well, I think we have been talking about technology, and I think technology is definitely going to push a lot of innovation in this industry. And then the other push is always the market. If we manage to help shift more users from the personal vehicle to public transportation, we are definitely contributing to reduce carbon emissions. And I think most of the people, most of the team here in the panel has referred this. This doesn't mean getting more people packed. It means providing quality time inside buses and coaches. And time is one of our most valuable resources. Finally, if we get together, operators, coach builders, local authorities, and appropriate regulation together, I believe we can achieve this in the future. And I believe that design can be the glue to put this collaboration together.
Good morning and bon dia. I wish you a very warm welcome to the BUS2BUS Digital Roadshow. My name is Annalisa Löcke and I am the international representative for Messe Berlin in Portugal. I am working for the German-Portuguese Chamber of Commerce, and we have our headquarters in Lisbon and a branch office in Porto. With over 1,000 members, we are the biggest bilateral chamber of commerce in Portugal. And yeah, today I am talking to you from the beautiful city of Porto, and Portugal will be our focus today. With our panel of international experts, we will discuss the question, how do we want to travel by bus tomorrow? At this point, a very big thank you to our panelists for accepting our invitation. I am looking forward to an interesting discussion and getting to know insights about the bus industry and what about is happening in Portugal. You as a participant have the possibility to ask questions through the chat function whenever you want, and later on we will have time for a Q&A session. So yeah, please feel free to interact with us. For those of you that are not from Portugal, and since I need to promote the country I represent, Portugal is much more than Cristiano Ronaldo, sun and the ocean. So I will have just some fun facts and figures for you. Portugal is the oldest nation in Europe, and Portuguese is the 6th most spoken language in the world. Also, over half of the world's cork comes from Portugal, and the biggest wave ever surfed was also in this country. Yeah. And last but not least, Portugal has a population with about 10 million people and is also the first country in the world that hits the 85% vaccination rate against COVID-19. Yeah, so as you can see, from culture over history, music to sports, there are many reasons to visit Portugal, and I hope to see you soon in this beautiful country, or at least next year at BUS2BUS 2022 in Berlin. So BUS2BUS is what we are here for today, and now I will just say some few words to the Portuguese participants and then hand over to my colleague. My colleague is Willow Beck-Jewett from the team BUS2BUS team in Berlin. Willow is the project organizer and will give you some further information about the trade show. Portanto, aos participantes portugueses também quero agradecer por participar nesta iniciativa e apelo à vossa participação através das questões no chat. Espero que este evento corresponda às vossas expectativas e que vos traga informações úteis sobre o futuro da indústria dos transportes rodoviários de passageiros. Obrigada, thank you, and Willow, the stage, or better, the screen is yours.
Thanks, Annalisa. Also a big thank you from our side, from BUS2BUS, to you for opening up the roadshow today. We are looking forward to seeing everybody today. My name is Willow Beck-Jewett, and I have been with the BUS2BUS team since 2017, since it started. And it's been really great to watch this event evolve and grow over the time. It's going to happen for the third time next year, from the 27th to the 28th of April 2022. For those viewing today that don't know much about BUS2BUS or haven't visited us in Berlin yet, I would like to just say a few words and let you know about our event and what you can expect in Berlin next year. So we are a trade show, and traditionally, like other events, we are a sales platform where you can come and view the products in person. But we are also more than that. And at Berlin, at BUS2BUS, we really strive to focus on innovation. And it's very, very close to us that we also shape the image of the bus, which can be, in comparison to other modes of transport, somewhat underrated or undervalued. And in fact, it's not. It's one of the most sustainable and flexible and innovative components in the mobility mix of the future. So something that is also very, very close to us is we really like to connect the right people, and especially startups. And one of our focuses is to take the startups who have these new and fresh ideas and connect them to the larger companies or partners who have the means to take those ideas and really boost them and boost them into action. For those of you who will visit us in 2022, I'd like to just say a little bit of what you can expect there. We, like I mentioned, have the trade show, so that's the stands within the halls on our Berlin exhibition grounds. We have a startup area. We have also an outdoor display to view vehicles, and you can also test those vehicles on our test track outside, live and in action. The second component of BUS2BUS is our stage program. So we have the Future Forum program and the BDO Congress, which is hosted by our long-standing partner, the BDO, the Bus and Coach, the German Association for Bus and Coach Operators in Berlin. And both of those programs takes place on central stages at the heart of the trade show. In 2022, we'll be focusing on topics like fresh travel, similar to what we're doing today, talking about the image of the bus and how we want to travel in the future with bus and coach. We'll be focusing as well on alternative drives, political framework and issues, as well as intelligent driving and different topics that we have, but we'll be having both of those panels either in German or in English, and we'll have translation as well for our international guests. The third component is BUS2 Specials, and that really focuses on networking and deeper learning. So we have the BUS2 Explore interactive workshops that take place as well in our trade show. So if you're interested in a topic that you've maybe seen on the Future Forum stage and you want to know more, you can sign up for a workshop with one of our experts and really get direct and instant feedback, ask your questions. We have the BUS2 Insights offer, which is something for our exhibitors. We offer them a panel on the stage to promote their new innovations. And we have as well the BUS2 Pitch, and that's for our startups. So each startup gets the opportunity to stand on stage and have a 3 to 5 minute pitch in front of our jury. They will then decide who's the winner, and we will send them home with an exclusive prize. So those are the three components of BUS2BUS. They're all included in our ticket. We have an all-inclusive ticket, so all of these options are available for you in Berlin with one ticket purchase. And if you have any questions about BUS2BUS, please feel free to contact us. Our information is on the website for each team member. And if you have a question today, please use the opportunity to put your question into the box underneath the live stream, and we will try and answer it at the end with our Q&A. I think I speak for my whole team when I say we are very, very excited to see everybody in Berlin. And after the 2 years, which are normally between our events, as well as the shift into 2022 because of the pandemic, we are really, really excited and elated to welcome everybody in Berlin. I think I'll hand over digitally the microphone to my colleague Kerstin Kube-Erkens. She is the Senior Product Manager and Director of BUS2BUS, and she will be moderating today's event. I thank you for your time. Look forward to seeing everybody in Berlin.
Thank you, Willow, and a very warm welcome from my side too. As Willow just said, my name is Kerstin Kube-Erkens and I'm the director of BUS2BUS. How do we want to travel by bus and coach tomorrow? This is the topic of our first international digital roadshow here in Portugal. I'm really delighted to moderate the premier event and to welcome this excellent group of mobility experts. Who is with me here today? I'm really looking forward to talk to Rui Marcelino, CEO and Design Manager at Almadesign based here in Portugal. With us is Paulo Lourenço Marques, CTO at CaetanoBusMark, again based here in Portugal. Mark Pfeiffer, Director Markets at Lantal Textiles Groups, also based in Portugal. And Luca Bortolani, CEO and Business Development Manager at Twiliner from Switzerland. And another warm welcome to Sofia Ferreira, who is journalist at the Green Future magazine, also based here in Portugal. Before I introduce my guests a little bit closer, I would like to outline the focus of today's discussion. In order to dramatically reduce CO2 emission in Europe, the mobility sector, as many other industries, has to act fast. The BUS2BUS Special Edition, which took place in April this year, brought together 900 experts from Germany and abroad. And there was one thing was really impressively underlined here. The bus industry is innovative and indispensable in the climate-friendly mobility mix of the future. Buses and coaches are available in almost all sizes, increasingly equipped with climate-friendly drives. And this makes, from our point of view, this means of transport or mode of transport predestined for tailor-made mobility concepts in cities, in rural regions, and of course in tourism. Here in Portugal, our experts are going to discuss how to improve the awareness of this means of transport. How can innovative design and interior or the use of new material help to change the image of the bus and makes buses and coaches more attractive and more perceptible in public life? And not to be overlooked here, how can bus tourism and long distance travel reach new target groups by offering innovative tailored packages? Or to say it in BUS2BUS language, how can the industry provide fresh travel? Welcome to Rui Marcelino. Rui is my first speaker today, and I would like to introduce Rui a little bit closer to you. Rui founded Almadesign in 1997, where he manages design projects for transportation, in aviation, rail, and in automotive. He led Almadesign to be distinguished with major design awards. He is co-founder and vice president of the Aeronautics, Space and Defense Cluster and of the Portuguese Rail and Rail Platform Cluster. Rui has a PhD in Design Process Management, Product Design Process Management, achieved at the Technical University in Lisbon, and he's currently responsible for the master degree in Product Design. Rui, a warm welcome. How have you experienced the last year and a half? And has it changed your work?
Well, thank you so much for the introduction, Kerstin. It's a pleasure to be here. And first of all, good morning to the audience. Thank you to BUS2BUS and Chamber of Commerce to invite me. Well, answering your questions, I think just like everyone, we have experienced a very different reality. For some time, it looked like we were living a dystopian movie. And regarding Almadesign activity, I believe for a couple of weeks, everything seems to have stopped. Then slowly, most of our partners understood that we need to adapt to this new situation to keep the system from falling apart. Well, in terms of workflow, we had to quickly adjust to work from home at the beginning of the pandemic. I think we were able to manage the team remotely quite well, despite the lack of personal, informal interaction, which is critical for innovation processes. Well, currently we are back to office 3 days a week and working remotely at the rest of the time. Finally, fortunately, we are currently involved in many different projects in the mobility area, and we have been able to boost productivity and well-being by using a combination of presential and remote work. So that's mostly it.
All right, thank you for this little insight in your work and your work situation, Rui. My next guest is Paulo Lourenço Marques, CTO at CaetanoBus. A warm welcome to you, Paulo, as well. Paulo has a master in mechanical engineering, and he is currently assumed the position of the Chief Technical Officer at CaetanoBus. Before Paulo was head of Paulo was head of the electric mobility department and team leader and a chassis development engineer. Before he came to Caetano, he was an application manager and at BorgWarner, and he also co-founded his own startup called Future AG, which is dedicated or was dedicated to renewable energy. Dear Paulo, I would like to direct my first question in a similar direction as I did to Rui. How has the pandemic changed your customer requests? Can you see a new drive or different expectations?
Hello to all. First of all, in the name of CaetanoBus, let me congratulate the organization for the opportunity to be here with all of us. So Caetano never stopped during these last 2 years. Even during this pandemic, we even increase our projects and our activities in zero-emission vehicles. So pandemic really changed the behavior of everyone, not only the companies, but end users. And the PTOs and PTAs, so public transport operators and the authorities, they already are aware of a new trend and a new world. A part of the public health, people saw that it's possible to reduce CO2 in the cities, and actions are needed from the PTO and PTAs. Local authority and all the governments, just now, they are launching new funds and new programs to really change the world. In our opinion, new trends are coming, focused on 3 main pillars. So mobility solutions, it will be the future that end users want. Environmental solutions, PTO and PTAs are looking for, and of course the costs. On the first topic, the mobility, I could incorporate here public health, the safety of the buses, active safety, passive safety, and the flexibility of the transportation services, where buses are needed to be developed to give to end users conditions to make a safe travel to where it's needed, when it's needed. And on the second topic, the environmental, zero-emission vehicles are being more and more accepted by the community. Up to now, I remember that in 2010, CaetanoBus presented zero-emission vehicles in the exhibition, and we were the first one and the only one. Now it's impossible to go to exhibition and see of almost 90% of the exhibitions are focused on the zero-emission vehicles, not anymore on diesel. And this is the second topic. And the third topic will be the costs. Here, zero-emission vehicles needs to make the way to be more cost-effective with the current diesel or gas powertrain comparison. But we believe that we are work hard to promote not only the vehicles, but at the same time, we will offer financial solutions for rental vehicles, the battery, charging infrastructures, energy solutions as hydrogen, for example, hydrogen stations in the future. And we believe that with the need of the PTO and PTA, we will change the world for sure.
Thank you for these introductional words, Paulo. This already gave us a kind of direction where the industry is going to, and what kind of development we're going to have to expect in the next year. Thank you, Paulo. Now I would like to move over to Mark Pfeiffer. Mark is the director of the Lantal Textile Groups, and with more than 65 years of experience in mass transportation. The Lantal Group has been at the forefront of some of the biggest interior innovations and trends seen in aviation, rail, and the bus market. Mark has had various roles in the mass transport industry across Europe since 2010 and holds a Master's in Economics and International Relations from Lancaster University. Welcome, Mark. And I would like to ask you a little bit more about customer behavior and acceptance, because this is something we want to talk about today. Talking about customer behavior, has and will it change the idea of how design and comfortability has to be in the future in buses? Could you, another important issue, sustainability, thinking of your product range. How important is sustainability here already for your customers, and has the pandemic changed customer demand?
Well, first of all, good morning, Kerstin. Good morning, everybody else. As Kerstin mentioned, Lantal has been working since 1956 in the mass transportation industry, and obviously the last 2 years you can see a huge change in the way that the end user would like their vehicles of the future to be. There's still, I'll be honest with you, a little bit of a gap between the end user and the actual operator of the vehicle, because they have different needs and wants. But definitely what has happened now is the end user has become much more conscious of the whole sustainability behind the mode of transportation they're taking. So you can see this especially in the younger generation, much more focused in CO2 emissions, how green, how recyclable the materials are of not only the interior, but the vehicle as a whole. And you can definitely see that more and more this is trickling down the whole supply chain. And it's in the next, I would say, 6 months to a year, you can definitely see a big push towards these more, let's say, sustainable types of solutions, which we definitely will be seeing in the markets coming out now, because obviously they're between the demand and the supply, there's always a slight gap, and therefore, yeah, I mean, as I said, sustainable materials will be definitely coming up more and more.
This is a really interesting topic, and I guess we're going to talk about this a little bit later, further. Thank you, Mark, for giving this little introduction from your side. My next guest is Luca Bortolani. Luca is co-founder of Twiliner. The company's vision is to make travel across Europe environmental friendly by creating a novel and attractive level of experience. Twiliner focuses on night buses and wants to build a route network for night bus travel together with strong partners. Luca worked for 14 years in startups and corporations in the sustainability sector, and Luca holds a master's in economics from the University of St. Gallen. Luca, welcome. Twiliner is a startup. How have you progressed with your business idea during the last year and a half during the pandemic? What have been your biggest challenge, and what do you see as the most potential still for your idea?
Well, first of all, thank you, Kerstin, for the invitation to speak here. For us as a startup, this is really a great opportunity to present ourselves to the bus community. We were happily not so much affected by the pandemic because we're still in the development of our offer, and we are supported by a Swiss foundation. It's called Migros Pioneer Fonds. So we're not relying on travelers and on ticket sales during this pandemic, and we could really focus on the development of our business or business model.
When have you started with Twiliner, Luca?
We've started 1 year ago, and where obviously what is our biggest challenge, and we also see it as our biggest potential, is in creating a solution that allows passengers to sleep comfortably while traveling. And for this, we're developing a comfort seat that you can turn into a lie-flat bed. And such a seat today does not exist in the bus sector, because so far no passenger safety system has been developed that provides passenger safety and comfort at the same time. And together with some really amazing partners, we're working on this, and it looks like that in about a year we should be ready with this seat and hopefully have our first bus on the road.
Wow, still a lot of luck for you, and I'm really a fan of your idea. Last but not least, I'm really happy to have Sofia here with me. Sofia Ferreira is journalist with Green Future AutoMagazine. Sofia is graduated in Portuguese literature, and she has a master and degree in linguistics from the Faculty of Art and Humanities in Porto, here in Portugal. She wrote several scientific papers and is currently journalist at Green Future AutoMagazine. Sofia, great to have you here. What is your opinion? Are we on the right track here in Europe when it comes to sustainable mobility?
Good morning. First of all, I would like to thank the organization for inviting Green Future to join this panel. And answering your question, well, I think there's a long way to go, but yes, I believe that we are starting to realize the need of changing our habits and our mobility choices. And comparatively to other continents, I believe Europe has established stricter emission targets, is betting large scale on EV charging infrastructure. Cities are investing in clean public transports, and we can also see an investment in renewable energies. At the same time, although the electric car is perhaps the most visible face of sustainable mobility, to the general public, we know that a truly sustainable mobility system must include other means, especially public transport as trains or buses. The problem is many cities have grew around the use of the automobile, and getting the public space back for pedestrians and cyclists will demand large investments that are not a priority for city councils, especially in mid-sized cities. But mindsets are slowly changing. So overall, yes, I would say that we are on the right track, but clock is ticking, and public transports are crucial to Europe achieve the targets that is committed to. Sorry.
Thanks a lot for this. We talk about fresh travel today, and one of the main points about it is maybe design and comfortability and attractive services can really help to let people make the switch from their own car into public transport. But I want to talk too much about this, and would like to continue to my next question, actually. Thanks a lot for your opinions and the small analysis about the last year and a half. I'd like to dive a bit deeper in what I said in my introduction about how buses are seen in public. So let's talk about awareness and acceptance. So this is the first bundle of questions I have to you. Are buses and coaches overshadowed by train and car? Question mark. Why does the bus has a rather tarnished image? How has the acceptance and attention of this means of passenger transport changed in recent years? Sofia, maybe another question for you. Our motivation for the Bus2BUS Portugal Roadshow was above all to offer this innovative means of passenger transport an appropriate international platform. Why do you think buses are still overshadowed by trains and cars when it comes to overall appeal of travel?
Well, speaking in urban context, and I'm thinking of buses, not coaches right now, I think many people still see buses as unreliable and unpleasant means of transport. For many people, at least in Portugal, trains are more punctual and reliable than buses because they do not have to share the roads with other means of transport. And I think that people usually choose trains to travel because they are faster and they are more comfortable. And now about cars, almost everyone owns a car these days. And this is still seen as a symbol of affluence and status opposed to public transport. And this is still seen as a means of transport for low-income people, young people, and many still see buses as crowded, smelly, unsafe means of transport. And of course, the pandemic didn't help to change this perspective. Recent studies show that traffic in largest Portuguese cities is back to pre-pandemic levels, but use of public transport is still at very low levels. And I believe that is because people find buses unsafe, crowded, and they are not as fast as trains or more comfortable than trains or cars. I believe that's the problem.
Maybe, but if we talk about buses, what else is more flexible than a bus when it comes to region? You'll not be reachable by trains, or in terms of costs. From my point of view, buses are really a good tool to deliver fast solutions, especially in rural regions. Yeah, but thank you. I agree with you, Sophia. Those are the points, definitely. Paulo, another question to you. I'm convinced that buses will play an essential role in the rapid implementation of mobility concepts. Will this influence the attractiveness of bus travel? What do you think?
Yes, for sure. As you stated previously, mobility is the key point now. Today, people are using car because they like to decide where to go, when to go. This leads us to a massive traffic problem, of course. Big amount of cars, big parking areas that are needed inside of the cities, no space available in the cities, and no optimization, let's say, a very low optimization on costs and emissions, and from emission point of view. Of course, that in the optimization of the car space, we have the trams, the metro, the trains, where we can optimize the grids, the transport grids, with more comfort that people don't see in the buses. But they are prepared for massive transportation, the trains and the trams and the metros. So even right now, we are looking for solutions as a complete integrated solutions for operation. Buses are start to have even more safety requirements that are equal to trains. So in the last 5 years, we are seeing that the PTAs are trying to bring safety standards from trains operation to bus operations to beat this kind of bad reputation that the buses have. So right now, buses are trying to offer to customers the comfort of the car that we already saw, and we hear that the new seats coming in the next year. So we would like to test these seats for the future, and the safety for the transportation organizations that are bringing from the train's point of view to the bus vehicle itself. So this will help the end users to decide their ideal transport to the future, where to use it, when to use it, with new routes, new vehicles, and of course that manufacturers, the bus manufacturers, will take care of the range, because right now, if we talk about the emission vehicles, the range is a problem, but the ideal vehicle should be taken care by the manufacturers, and we will offer for the future the perfect configuration to meet the grids requirement from the transport point of view. Because it's very important to talk about grids. On-demand buses will be the future, but as you said, the trains are very settled and standing on the rail, so no flexibility on that. So the bus will be the key point here to define where the people needs to be moved from. Even from safety point of view, from passive safety or active safety, it will be a must from 2022 on the implementation for the bus industry, the GSR, so the new global safety requirements that will push a lot from the bus manufacturers from the safety point of view. So we know that 95% of the accidents that we have on roads are due human error. And of course that these 95% of accidents could be reduced a lot dramatically by adding technology to help the operators to deliver a better service with a more safety service.
Thank you, Paulo, for this. We just talked a bit more into detail about the cities. Mark, if I and public transport, Mark, when I think of the coach industry, it still somehow has an old-fashioned image. From my point of view, unjustified if I think of my trips with super modern, great equipped buses. As an expert in interior design, what can we do to change these awareness?
Well, I mean, there's obviously this image that you're talking about comes because a lot of the times the tourism industry, or when you call it what you have in Germany, the Kaffeefahrten, gives, let's say, the whole long distance and coach industry kind of a bit of a cheap and cheerful kind of image that you're just shipping the person from A to B without any real consciousness of what the passenger wants. And then what I always like to say when speaking with operators or with customers is, the first thing that people do when they walk onto a vehicle, regardless being a bus, train, or an aircraft, the first thing that the passenger will look at is the seats, because this is where they're actually going to be sitting down on. And it's obviously how should I explain this? The whole awareness in the sense of, if the passenger does not like what he's seeing, it's going to already have a negative impact in the whole experience of the travel. So obviously, what's from a design perspective that you can do, and then I'm sure that we can talk a little bit more about this later on in more detail, is that the whole interior has to be harmonized. So it's not only the seats, it's the floor. Does it have curtains? The lighting. It all has an important aspect, and making sure that it all fits together. Because, for example, if a customer wants now a dark gray seats but puts in an orange floor,
so it's very, very individual. Yeah,
it's a very individual thing. But as I said, what we try to do is obviously then, on one end, you have then the customer wanting to have a nice interior to look at, feel comfortable in it. On the other hand, you have then the operator who's very concerned about maintenance, the cleanability of the seat covers, and the whole trick is putting this into harmony. So a good example, for example, is we had a customer in Germany, one of the big cities in Germany, that wanted a beige interior on a city bus. And as you can imagine, yes, it's nice for the customer because they wanted to give this whole feeling of a modern car, because they wanted to convince the people to switch from the car to a bus. But then obviously from a maintenance perspective, having beige seat covers,
it's going to give him hard times, I can imagine.
And there's ways obviously then through design how you can mix and match this in order to fulfill what the operation of the vehicle means, and then also the let's say the expectation of the passenger. But it's just I said, finding the right balance.
All right. Okay. This actually leads me to Luca, because talking about offering new products and packages and reaching new target groups, this is exactly where you are Luca. What makes traveling by bus so special to you? And on your website you say Twiliner will make a bus trip unforgettable. How?
Well, it's a claim, but for sure. For sure, coaches have a great potential for eco-friendly and luxurious travel. But as long as I have to sit on a normal bus seat, it just becomes uncomfortable after several hours. And I think it's the same in airplanes or in car seats. Just sitting for hours becomes uncomfortable. And this is why we're focusing on the bus seat to make this much more comfortable than what exists today, but it shouldn't stop there. So what our goal is that people should feel like they bring their home with them for an overnight bus travel trip. So the space we'll offer to the passengers should give them a comfy, homey feeling. They should feel as if they're eating on their table, if they're working on their desk, as if they have a couch with them, but also a bed. So really to bring the home into the bus. And that's, of course, a very ambitious vision, but this is what we're working on. And we have some fun ideas, I would say.
All right. Yeah, thanks to a lot to my experts, and it seems we're all fascinated by buses, of course, and persuaded of the potential. And after hearing your estimation about the current image, I'm sure we are on track to get the hidden champion bus right in the spotlight. Let's continue the discussion about how new materials and digitization offer a new scope for ideas. We just talked about it. Let's talk about design and new materials. Vehicle design at equipment levels play a key role within the bus-to-bus event program. This is a field in which much has changed over the recent years, and coaches have long served as design and styling objects, for example. They are also highly customizable in terms of size and features, and innovative materials and production techniques open the door to new options and offer scope for new design approaches. Rui, this is exactly your topic. How can design and aesthetics contribute to a higher attractiveness and perception of the bus in public life? What role do user-centered design play in this context?
Thank you for the question, Kerstin. So first of all, just to make just to put it in context, Alma Design has been working in all mobility areas, which gives us a broad approach to the theme, from road to air vehicles. And we have been addressing topics that goes from working closely with Caetano, for instance, for buses for the next generations, to other projects as challenging as defining a full transportation system, for example, Saudi Arabia, all based on sustainable energy, which is, in our opinion, a very challenging target. Of course, when we look at the bus industry here, we see, of course, there is this trend about zero emissions and bus technology that is so promising, from propulsion systems to recyclable materials. But when you talk about user-centered, I think that the most interesting thing to highlight is that user-centered design considers people at the center of the design process. Developing the product and service around the final user provides a better experience and certainly attracts more users to public transportation. Some of you have also referred to the concept of mobility on demand, which is exactly what we refer here as user-centered, meaning digital systems together with a physical system can also help you to customize your journey at the palm of your hand, if you allow me to say, and to predict the availability of the service with advantages not only for passenger expectations, and expectations are at the center of the design purpose, but also operation efficiency and fleet management. Well, these are keys that all together contribute to a better experience. Well, of course, aesthetic, comfort, and availability provide better travel experience and promote what we call brand loyalty, which is also something very important for every operator and coach builder. And I believe that in a competitive transport ecosystem, only user-centered solutions will thrive. Finally, it's curious to say, I don't know, some of my friends can can corroborate this. That is, before the pandemic, public transportation in Portugal was seeing an enormous increase in demand because of better offers and of I would say, something against that old image that was being said, which is completely normal, that buses were not so reliable. That there was being an increase in demand. But now, after the pandemic, we need to get public back. We need to get the public trust back to the transport system, providing safer, cleaner, and I think especially more comfortable products and services. And this means giving people more room, more predictability, more comfort, more services inside the bus. That is the user-centered experience that I think coach builders and operators need to focus on. Oops.
I'm sorry, my micro. Talking about concrete products, new drive technologies such as electric drives, Paulo, create a completely new scope. What options are here? Arise here, I'm sorry, in terms of design and creating your vehicles.
So let me say that I'm completely aligned with what Ruiz mentioned right now. So the integration of the new drive technologies, such as electrical drives, creates a more space availability, let's say. The space for the passengers, new ambience with the 350 degrees visibility in the low floor chassis is what we are offering right now. We are offering a vehicle that it's more look for, it seems like a train or a tram, and it's less a bus, with no steps, with a low floor chassis and a very wide angle visibility around the vehicle. So more space for the passengers compartment brings new challenges, and optimization of the space under the chassis for the technology is needed. So we had the need to transfer the technology for the optimization in the chassis and for the roof. For this, we are using, for example, lightweight materials, because materials, the technology is heavier. So if you compare diesel powertrains with electrical powertrains, from the point of view of the motor, of course, it's much more lighter electrical motor, but the batteries or hydrogen tanks or fuel cell stacks, the technology weight is heavier than a simple normal diesel vehicle. Zero emission vehicles are based on these powertrains and could represent that we have more 2 or 3 tons of technology compared with the old diesel powertrains. So this means that right now we are facing a big challenge because we need more space for passengers, we need more space for technology, and the technology is more heavier. But keep in mind that current vehicles, and it's our commitment, Caetano vehicles are meeting these targets. First, the passenger comfort. So the space for the passengers are the first key point in our developments, and we are getting there. Second one, the low floor chassis, the comfort of no steps, the safety of not having any steps, the hand pose distribution, the sharp edges, in the case of some braking, some accidents, and so on. So we are the first one, for you to know, that meets the TfL first level safety requirements for interior passengers in UK. It means that from the point of view of the construction, in the interior of the bus, it's been scored by safety, and we meet this level, the first level of the safety on our current vehicles. So having all of these difficulties and challenges, we bet on lightweight materials. We bet on aluminium structure bodies. We have all the exteriors of the bus are from composite materials, and in the next year we will launch new technologies. Even the system will be improved on the weight and of course efficiency and costs. So I can say today that today our vehicles are developed already with this mindset. First, the passenger comfort.
All right. Challenges is a good point, Mark. If I come to you, what challenges are you currently facing by the implementation of hygiene and safety measures? What innovative ideas are you developing, and do you have partners you work together with in this field?
Sorry, could you repeat based on the?
I was just asking Mark the next question.
Sorry.
Thank you, Paulo. Mark, have you?
Yes.
Right.
So I forgot to turn on the microphone before. As I was saying before, it's not, seats are supposed to not only look good, they're supposed to do a lot more than what they used to. And obviously, the seat cover material, which is where the customer sits on, has to then respond to these demands. So what has happened now, and this is something that is being at the moment tested and rolled out, for example, is the seats or textiles or other seat cover materials which are supposed to be anti-stain, antibacterial, and antiviral, because obviously now with the whole situation of the pandemic.
Oh God, this is definitely something that is going to stay.
Yeah, obviously, in order to get the confidence back in the passengers to use public transport again, or also coaches, let's say there's an increased demand for a technical solution to these kind of fears that passengers nowadays have. And what we at Lantal have done, we have now developed special finishes which cover anti-stain, antibacterial, and antiviral solution in different combinations. So customers can have all three, or they can have one or the other. And obviously, you have now major cities, for example, Paris, that is now doing live trials on this to see if this is sustainable, and if it increases, obviously, the amounts of passengers using public transports, in this case specifically buses and light-rail vehicles. So the solutions are there and are being rolled out, and I think we will see this more and more.
All right. Sofia, maybe let's switch a little bit over to technology. And what do you think? Has the pandemic led to a digitization boost in the industry? If I'm thinking about developments on mobile ticketing, booking platforms, but also new services on board, what is your opinion?
I think that is the case. But I also think operators need to do much more to publicize these improvements. As an occasional transport user, I have noticed that now it is possible to buy our tickets and validate them using a smartphone app. I think this is a great option as it saves time and reduces the use of paper. But this possibility is not very well spread throughout the users. I have noticed it because I see it, not because it was publicized. And of course, there are limits to what it can be done, and the industry must be careful in the push for digitalization. I'm thinking in particular of older generations, who, at least in Portugal, represent a great share of the users of public transport. Some of these people have low levels of technology literacy, and in many cases find it difficult to adopt new technologies. So this push for digitalization must take these into account in order to avoid the exclusion of some users, in many cases people who are very dependent on these means of transport.
Thank you, Sofia. Digitization is creating entirely new possibilities to get in touch with your customers and users. Luca, what role does this play in the implementation of your product to get more and closer information to customers?
Yeah, we're starting from scratch So that makes it easier for us maybe to integrate digitalization. So obviously it starts with a very easy and intuitive booking system. Today, for example, especially trains, bookings are a nightmare. And what we are looking for is a simple app for interacting with the customer, but also providing push notifications when the trip starts, getting feedback and so on. So in the bus itself, we will not do much more than what already exists today. So there will not be an entertainment system. There should be a good Wi-Fi. We think that people have their own devices and all have their own type of using devices. So it's just a platform where people can get access, maybe also a dashboard to get information on where you're going, destination, where you stand on your trip. So just to have a bit of interaction with the customer before, during, but also after the journey. So in case, for example, they want to give a feedback or a recommendation, or they have questions, it's easy for passengers to get in touch with us.
Thank you, Luca. I'm just wondering if there are questions so far from the audience. Let me have a look. Time is running, and no, I can't see a question so far, so maybe I'm gonna check later on. Let's talk a little bit more about target group and possible cooperations in the industry. Mark, another question to you. Can equipment and design help actually to win new target groups and build more trust in public transport? What do you think?
Well, of course, I mean, a specific example is equipment in the sense, as you might be aware, Lantal also works Lantal developed initially back in 2003 what we call pneumatic comfort system, which was originally developed for the aviation industry, which is an air cushion system used for high-end seats in the aviation industry. And obviously, what you're now seeing more with all these developments and new companies and new ideas, and also with a little bit with what Luca might talk a little bit later on, is these kind of equipments now you can use and transfer them into different market segments. So, i.e. coaches, maybe in the future buses, I do not know. But obviously, this allows you to create a completely new target group for the real, let's say, conscious traveler of the future. So, for example, rather than sitting on a business class plane, maybe you want to sit on a business class seat with a massage system or with a heating cooling system.
Sounds very tempting.
As I said, the possibilities are all there, but obviously you cannot do this alone. You always need a partnership, because what we do is only a very small section of a vehicle. I mean, in the end, a bus is 10,000 parts put together.
All right. Luca, do you create a completely new appearance of the bus? What kind of partners and corporations are you interested in? And what is your target group actually? Luca?
Thank you. I was having the microphone off.
Yes,
so our target group is a young urban population. These can be business travelers or private travelers. We also think it's not necessary to differentiate those two, because often people, they go on a business trip but combine it with a private visit or vice versa. But these are people that today probably don't use the bus. And we have questioned this kind of target group and to find out what is really important to them. And the result was that most important is comfort in the travel. So like Mark mentioned, we are looking into using some of the products from Lantal, which would be a very good combination. Then also privacy is really relevant. especially when working. And then people want to have a good conscience when traveling. So a sustainable drive is already a must. It's not a unique selling point that we will offer, but we think it's almost a hygiene factor.
All right.
And yeah, these people, they're looking for new ways to travel. Air traffic is polluting. It's also often uncomfortable. You have to wait in line for security checks and go to the airports and so on. Night trains are coming back, but slowly and on limited routes only. So there's really a demand, we think, of this target group for overnight bus travel.
Sofia, can you, thank you, Luca. Sofia, can you see new kinds of cooperation within the bus and the bus industry?
From what I can see, the number of tech companies and startups developing solutions for the bus industry is still somehow limited, and the push for innovation is driven in great measure by manufacturers. Many bus fleets around the world are going electric, and there are simultaneously very interesting developments in areas such as control systems, ticketing, fleet management, etc. I think that we will see in the future a great increase in public transport usage, both urban and rural, as governments take measures to limit the environmental damage of the transport sector. And people become more sensible to the impact that mobility systems have in their quality of life and well-being. As a consequence, it is expectable that we will see a rise in the number of innovative technological solutions for the bus industry and an increasing integration between startups and technology companies on one hand, and traditional and new manufacturers on the other. So in this sense, I think platforms such as Bus2Bus are very important as a way to break new ground in the industry.
Thank you, Sofia. You just mentioned earlier on that putting the customer in center of attention by creating new products is within your gene at Almadessign. How do you make sure you're always in touch with the new target groups or younger target groups? Does your work at the university maybe help to get in, to have exchange with new generations and target groups?
Well, Kerstin, definitely. That's, I think, to first answer your question, I think that's the main reason why I keep the two hats during my life, which is I'm always working at Almadessign and at the same time giving lectures at the university. But I must say that since we first started designing buses and coaches about 25 years ago, also here with Caetano, we try as much as possible to engage users at the beginning of the design process. And that's how we build a specification for every design of a new product. It's not based on a specification from only a technical side, which happens so many times. I've seen companies that design buses and coaches without ever going to the places where they are going to be on service, which is completely awkward for me. Besides, at the beginning of the design process, we engage ourselves and our teams at university and at Almadessign in the mobility problem, and we are addressing it presentially and not trusting only the third-party information, if you allow me to say that. Well, therefore, that's how we have been increasingly accommodating all users, let's say from handicapped to elderly people, which is a growing trend also in Europe, as you know, from young tourists to work commuters, which is some people that we always have to live with, and think about the different transportation modes. That would be an important point for different niches, which is we have to think about in cities to last mile solutions, meaning how are you going to integrate buses with other transportation ecosystems, meaning carrying bikes, carrying kick scooters or whatever. And for coach services, I think Mark was mentioning that we need to understand how to provide a high level experience when you switch from a coach to an aircraft, to a train, to a boat, meaning you get innovation by looking at what is going on other transportation systems and not focusing yourself only in one transportation system, because for the passenger, he's not only taking that transportation mode, he's going to take several, and he needs to have a seamless experience through all the transportation systems. Luckily, some providers, well, Lantal is one case, give experience to both things. So I think that the majority of the ecosystem is working on the full transportation system and not focusing only on one solution.
All right. Thank you very much. Referring to different target group means offering different packages, and it's always a kind of very individual business. Paulo, if I think about public transport, for example, or it's much more easier maybe in the coach business, what kind of degree and individualization can a manufacturer offer for new products? I'm thinking about cost pressure maybe in some companies.
Of course, that bus and coach sectors are completely different. The pressure from the bus sectors is based on tenders, mainly, where buses are highly customized by cities or countries with a high pressure from cost side too. This lead us, all bus manufacturers, to decide where we want to be on the bus segment. That's why most of the manufacturers are focused on the specific countries or customers. And here is where the big numbers needs to appear, because if not, it's difficult to compete on the bus segment. Nevertheless, CaetanoBus is specialized on the highly customization services and to meet the public customer requirements and expectations on vehicle solutions and costs. For example, onboard services, Wi-Fi, touchless payment systems, QR code access, vehicle to infrastructure communications, advertisement, fleet management, preconditioning systems, everything should be put on the same vehicle. And if you see in the future for zero-emission vehicles, where in the diesel it was much more easy, right now our vehicles could have a very cold start in a weather of minus 25 degrees in north of Europe, or in some airports worldwide. So we are able to work with high temperatures, even the requirements, not only in Europe, but in Americas or Middle East, where we can find easily 45 degrees of outside temperature, 80% humidity. So these requirements are even more important nowadays with electrical vehicles than were in the past with the diesel vehicles. And these requirements are really a challenge for giving to the passenger the comfort that they need to make a trip in between minus 25 degrees or 45 degrees. We need to have solutions to meet these requirements for public transportation too. And we are here today with our solutions, and this is our reality already. On coach, the difference is not so high, as the service is more standard from operation and service type of volumes. Intercity operation are more easy to start working, and the comfort of the end users is more standard. But what I can say is that even the coach business will be changed in the future, as the bus segment was changing to zero-emission vehicles. When coaches will change to zero-emission vehicles, the challenge that we have nowadays in our city with electrical vehicles or hydrogen vehicles, the challenge will be the same. So the range, it will be the same issue. We need to work hard on the range, on technology, on space. In the big picture of the future will be where people could carry the luggage, because the space availability is not, it will not be so much as it is today. The technology needs space. Yep. The energy needs space. The hot weathers and cold weathers will demand a lot for changes in coach. So the coach business, it will be changing dramatically for the future. Today we are not seeing this, because today we are keeping our freedom on the diesel, and diesel is giving to us a lot of freedom to travel. It's a huge advantage of the diesel, but it's not the solution for the future as an energy. So in the future, the challenge will come up on the coach too, and we are here to support the challenges, and we are working on that too.
Thank you very much, Paulo. I have a question here from a participant, which I would like to address. I don't know, maybe to Rui or to Paulo, whoever wants to answer. It says we are sometimes we see very futuristic, nice airplanes and buses on showcases. And the participant is going to ask, when will those futuristic models will come true? When will we see futuristic buses on streets? What is your estimation?
I don't know whether if Paulo or me should start, but I could give a small word about that. I can also share with you that through all our 2025 experience in designing coaches and buses, I might say that we have had some very futuristic proposals, but then we have, you know, the development funnel, which is all the constraints that come to the market that then in the end sometime constrain the final result. But I can share with the audience that lately, and also due to this push for innovation, also due to the climate challenges we are living it, we are trying as much as possible with our partners, namely with Caetano, to get more futuristic coaches and buses into the market. And we believe we could have, I should not say that, the iPhone of the buses very soon in the market, and we'll be surprising the market with it.
Fine. Thanks to Rui. Yeah, actually, we're coming to the end of this session, and before we will finish, I would like to ask you in general, because it just fits very well. What is your vision for bus coach mobility? Let's take the horizon not too far, maybe to 2030. What is your estimation? Please feel free to answer whenever you want.
I can state.
Yeah.
Okay. From the manufacturer point of view, of course, the challenges will lead us to develop new platforms. The new platforms will be buses, will be coaches, and will be apron buses. Mainly they are the co-bus vehicles, as you know. So as Caetano, we will offer mobility solutions, and these mobility solutions will start from the airplane and up to your home, in the same city or in another city, using our zero-emission vehicles, from the airport to the city to the intercity, with the new technologies and the environmental friendly, contributing for the ecosystem, for sure, in a very good bus atmosphere, low noise, 360 degrees visibility, and enjoying the view of the city or the landscape with the power of the decision in your hands, in an app. Everything it will be on the app, in your mobile phone, and we will deliver for sure solutions with our PTOs partners for the future vehicles. And this is what we see and how we see the future. The information, all the data should be at your hand, at the hand of the user, and the end users could decide what will be the best transport solution and the best route, the best vehicle to get in your home.
Thank you very much, Paulo. More comments?
Can I give one first?
Yes.
Well, I think we have been talking about technology, and I think technology is definitely going to push a lot of innovation in this industry. And then the other push is always the market. If we manage to help shift more users from the personal vehicle to public transportation, we are definitely contributing to reduce carbon emissions. And I think most of the people, most of the team here in the panel has referred this. This doesn't mean getting more people packed. It means providing quality time inside buses and coaches. And time is one of our most valuable resources. Finally, if we get together, operators, coach builders, local authorities, and appropriate regulation together, I believe we can achieve this in the future. And I believe that design can be the glue to put this collaboration together.
Thank you very much, Rui. More comments on this? More visions?
quickly from our side. So our vision is that Caetano buses will not pick up the people from the airports, but actually from the bus stations where the Twiliner buses will land to take them to their home, because we want to offer a network of overnight buses connecting larger and smaller cities in Europe, so people really have an alternative to night trains and to aircraft.
Paulo, no, you've got a task now.
Well, when it will be the user, we will pick the user, whatever it will be.
All right, Sophia, any final statement from your side?
Yes, I think that in the future we will see more green buses, electric or hydrogen. I think that's a possibility too, especially for long ranges. But overall, I hope we will see less cars on the streets and more public transport or bicycles or scooters. But for that, cities need to change the way they are organized to allow people to feel they don't need the car to move.
Thank you very much, Sophia. Mark, it's your turn to say the closing words.
Oh, that's a difficult one. I can only say from a Lantal Textiles perspective, I think the future, what the next 5 to 10 years hold for us, is more specified solutions to the needs of the passengers and the operators. So I don't think a generalization will no longer, let's say, be possible as the demands and the requirements in order to get the passengers onto public transport increase. And it will obviously, just a little bit as Rui and Paulo mentioned, this integration between all these different components will have to become much more seamless. So in other words, we're talking smart textiles or smart surfaces that interact with the vehicles and with the seats in order to give a complete experience. And obviously, what Twiliner is doing, I think, is one of the beginnings. What they're doing now in integrating this, and I think it's going to get much further in the next 5 to 10 years. That the seat covers will become part of the seats. The seats will become part of the bus. That is just one element.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much to all of you for this really interesting insight into your vision. Thank you to Sophia. Thank you to Rui. Thank you to Paulo, to Mark, and to Luca for being here with us today. Our Bus2Bus Roadshow comes to an end, and a big thank you to all of you, and thank you to all our participants being with us today. I really hope we could give some impulses today for ideas and for your own business. And if you have further questions, do not hesitate to get in touch with us via bus2bus at messe-berlin.de. If you've got more questions to our today's speakers, we will be happy to connect or find us on LinkedIn. That would be another good possibility to continue conversation and discussion. Before I finally leave you for the weekend, let me mention the next 2 following stops along our roadshow. We will be in Hungary, Budapest, on November 4, and there we will give insights about the transformation to electric drives in Hungarian cities. And we will be in the Netherlands on November 11, where we will talk again about fresh travel. Thanks for being with us today. I leave you with a small film and impressions from the Bus2Bus 2019. Thanks a lot for being with us, and goodbye.